dun, dun. We are live. Me with a cold. Wilson with some new comics.
Yep, picked them up from the shop today. Went out.
I only had 4 comics at my comic shop this week, which is a pretty small week for one. And 2 of them were Chris Giarrusso covers, so that really makes it even only 2 comics that I actually wanted to read. And a shop was shorted a facsimile edition that I didn't get, but was on my pull list, so maybe it'll be here next week, which was an Archie one, like Betty #1 or something. Another one of those double entendre covers, or Betty in a bathing suit cover or something.
I saw one at the shop where I think it was Veronica diving into a pool.
Yes, that one was out. I got that one a few weeks ago.
Yeah. I don't recall if I got that one or not.
Matter of fact, Tim Howlermouse he just had a haul video that I think yesterday or so.
Yep.
Where he got that facsimile, but he also showed he had the original.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he said he got the original I don't even remember. Was it an antique store or something? And he got it for dirt cheap. And he got it home. And I think he got it like a year or 2 ago, the original. And he said he knew that the original was kind of valuable. He expected it to be around $100 book. And he went home and found out it was like an $800 book. But in his condition, it was probably a few $100s. He was like, holy cow.
That is wild for, Archie books to be, practically given away with everything else when you buy stuff. You could, and that's the crazy thing about Archie in general, that you could find them almost anywhere. Like there was a thrift store that I went to that I've gotten some stuff over the years, and every now and then they have comics, but they're usually always overpriced, and they're not bagged and boarded or anything. They're like all put into it might as well be a sandwich bag. And I don't mean like a Ziploc bag. I mean like it might have been the bag the bread came in.
Yep.
Wrapped up in that and just hung on the wall. And every time I look, it's like they're just overpriced books that are not worth anything. But there is always Archie books among them. And you mentioned, so this is a thrift store. Antique stores will have them. I always found going into antique stores is where you could find books like Casper and the Harvey books and the Archie books. Usually never the superhero books. It's always the and other stuff that's not Marvel and DC, but it's usually the cartoony stuff. And they're fun to find, but again, it's one of those things that's what ends up in a lot of those places.
Yep. Let's see. Eric P. Diamond has had some shipping issues. Yeah, my LCS got half their books last week and nothing from them this week. I think Sleepy Reader said Diamond messed up his order this week. Or last week, I think they didn't get anything in. And this week, Sleepy Reader got a bunch of his books all this week.
By the way, Eric P. did a video. A new one.
He did?
Yeah.
What was the video about? Comics?
And actually, I'm not sure. I saw I did one, but I didn't watch it. Even though I did subscribe to the channel. Where do I have the?
I have zero idea if I'm subscribed to Eric P's channel or not. I'll have to look. Good evening, Tit Goblin.
I usually try to make a list of everybody, and then on Saturday I try to go back and maybe watch the show and say, okay, who do I need to follow? And then I go look, it's like, oh, I'm already following, but I don't get a notification.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's weird. I'm not sure if I'm clicking things correctly or what have you. Or sometimes I kind of forget, oh yes, I also have a YouTube channel. I should post stuff there as well. They're easy to post up the shorts, but I feel like I don't like posting long form content on YouTube using the information and stuff that I created for TikTok because of the sheer, the shorts are fine because they're made to be looked down on the phone, but the long form stuff I feel like that should be landscape. And then after I do the whole video, it's like, should I shoot that again? Just turn the camera, and it's like, I don't know if I want to do that.
There's no way you can shoot it twice. Maybe film it with 2 cameras.
That's an idea. But I know I tried something similar to that once, and I wasn't sure where to look. It was like I was just like giving myself ADD because it's like, which one should I look at? Should I just pick one? But now that I have the phone and the camera could be near each other, I may be able to put the camera right above the phone, and then film the YouTube on the webcam and then the TikTok on the regular one, and try to see if that works.
That might work. Eric P says, I just showed the comics I got on that last video. Okay.
Yeah, 2-minute video.
And to get well soon from Tid Coughlin. Thank you very much. I hope I do get well soon. Because I'd prefer to be well.
Yes.
Chris Geruso says he has a 0% chance of making it tonight.
I could not find his books today.
No?
Yeah, I went looking for the ones that you had shown in your video.
Yep.
And it's like either they sold out, or it's just that, again, you mentioned about Diamond not shipping everything. They may have been affected as well.
Who knows?
But it was one of those things like, I didn't see any of them.
Yeah. My comic shop says that the other 2 are doing a good job. Diamond is not. Lunar and Penguin, is it?
I believe so. Penguin is doing Marvels, I believe, or maybe more now. It's been a while since I looked into that.
But Diamond is the one that's fallen behind. They're probably in a death spiral. All the people who are good at their job leave because they have options. That's what happens to companies that start getting bad.
We kind of have a problem with it outside the U.S. because Diamond retained distribution rights of the American market comics outside North America. So anyone who reads the American originals needs to get them through Diamond. And if they get late, and sometimes a couple of comics would get lost in the sea crossing, maybe they fell overboard or something.
Comic Crack is here, it looks like. Comic Fiends, good evening. Good evening, Comic Crack. Ooh. Yeah, the 2 Chris Geruso covers I got this week are the first of 4 X-Men 8. As you can see, this is the Jim Lee X-Men #1. That was a double gatefold. Chris is doing his version of it, only it's going to be 4 different comics. So I think it's going to be like X-Men 9 and then one other X-Men title that has 2 of them. I forget which one. So all 4 are going to line up in just like the Jim Lee gatefold did. And of course, the other one is all new Venom, which I don't know if it's after anything. Yes, it is after Adam Kubert. So I guess he's doing the Adam Kubert cover for all new Venom 1 here.
Right. So I saw that, not that one, but I saw the one it's based on. Okay. And it's a nice cover. They had, I think, like 4 alternate covers. I just could not find that one. But I was almost tempted to get the Kubert cover because it's a gold foil on it, and it was attractive to go, oh, that's kind of neat. But it was also $8.99, so it was like, it was pretty to look at, but I was not going to spend that much on it.
Yeah. Let's see. We got a few comments here. Titcom picked up a few Dark Horse instant pianos this week. 90s anthologies really were a distinct era. Yeah, I don't think I have any of those instant pianos, but I remember the name. Definitely. Comic Crack says, "Oh, I got the Usagi Ojima Fantagraphics box set this week from my shop. I got that way back when it originally came out. I thought it shot up in price for a while. I don't know what it's going for now, but but for a while there, that was one of those out of print expensive box sets. It's a hardcover reprint of all the original Usagis that Fantagraphics published back in the 80s. And Eric P., what I heard was that Diamond moved warehouses and didn't have a plan for continuity of shipping. I can believe that. There's a new edition, $120. Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, because the out of print one was really expensive. I didn't know they put out a new edition. The out of the print one was like, I don't know, $800 or something. I don't know if anyone actually paid that for it, but that's what I saw it listed for on like Amazon or something. But both of these books are ones that, I actually have been regularly reading Venom. This is kind of a continuation of the Venom War miniseries. And there's a new Venom in town. And the whole thing is we don't know who it is. So the trial of Madame Mask is going on. And who shows up at the trial? Robbie Robertson, the editor of the Daily Bugle, Luke Cage, who's the mayor of New York, Rick Jones, the classic superhero sidekick, and I thought a woman showed up. I can't remember who else, but all of them kind of disappeared, and then this is the new Venom who showed up. And we don't know who the new Venom is. That's the whole thing. They had a whole thing where they also don't know who the new Venom is. So like these three are talking, going, "Yeah, I'm not the new Venom. Are you the new Venom? I'm not the new Venom. Are you the new Venom?" So I think that's the whole thing. The whole mystery of this book is who is the new Venom. And then at the end, Dylan Brock, the son of Venom, shows up and says, "I want my Venom back." But I'm like, is that really a shocking? We saw him all in the last miniseries. It's not really that shocking that he shows up wanting his Venom suit back. He spent the whole last 5 issues wanting his Venom suit back. So I found that a little bit of a weird ending. And X-Men 8 was the one where the X-Men have gone to different places. Like there's the Alaskan X-Men, there's the Louisiana X-Men, and somebody turned the Westchester mansion into a prison for the X-Men. And Hank McCoy was just taken prisoner there. So then the X-Men go to rescue him. Not much to it. And then I guess they are controlling some of the X-Men or mutants as prison guards. That was all right. So Al Vey continues to write that one. I don't know who Gomez is. I'm not sure who Gomez is, the artist, but he did an okay job on that one. And this one is by The Search for the Jed McKay is the writer. The penciler is Ryan Stegman. And inkers J.P. Mary Livesey and Ryan Stegman. Colorist Marte Garcia. It was okay. It was a solidly okay X-Men book. But I gotta say, that Venom one is so weird. I've said this before. 62 Lefty Blues is here. Evening, people. Lefty. Just the fact that, like, Robbie Robertson could be the new Venom. Makes me go. It's like everybody from the original Spider-Man cast is a superhero.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Any minor character.
I mean, if they want to really surprise people, they would bring back Nathan Lubensky. And Nathan Lubensky would be the new Venom.
I get the feeling it's not going to be any one of these people. I mean, there's no reason it has to be one of them. Mm-hmm. It just said they were suspects. It was like, I expect something completely out of left field.
Yeah.
Because why would you give me suspects and then make it one of them?
Yeah, like Professor Evan Swan or Peter Parker's girlfriend from when he worked in the Daily Globe.
That's right. I don't think Betty Brant has been a superhero, has she?
Didn't she have an Iron Man armor once?
I don't remember. I haven't seen Betty Brant in a long time.
I haven't seen her in a while. I think she was last time I seen her, she was a full reporter herself, but she usually has relatives that become the superpowered beings. So her brother, the Molten Man, or her husband became the Hobgoblin. So it varies. I don't recall her having any powers.
Eric P says Aunt May is the new Venom. See, that wouldn't surprise. I'd be like, yeah, that's a good twist. I like that. And know what's weird? I don't. In the courtroom scene where Venom breaks into the courtroom, the guy on the stand who has to identify Madame Mask is a body language expert. And he's specifically there in the story to tell you that due to his body language expertise, he can tell that all the people who used to be Venom aren't that Venom. And I was just like, that's the strangest thing ever. Because I got to figure that's a whole new body. Because Eddie Brock, when he gets that Venom suit on, does not look like Eddie Brock anymore. He's this giant, super muscled thing. I'm like, I don't know if being a body language expert could tell you. I just found that weird that they gave so much screen time to this body language expert.
Right. Because of the symbiote's capabilities, anyone who becomes Venom or Carnage or whatever moves completely different now.
Yeah.
Because now they have superpowers.
Right. I just found that weird. Crack. I'm Venom. I'm Spark.
Well, I haven't read the issue. And taking into account that Venom can change the body, I would guess it's the Kingpin. And the only reason why is because of the players that you told me that were there. And wasn't the Kingpin the mayor right before Luke Cage?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I haven't read what the Kingpin's been up to, so I don't know. I'm just speculating at this point.
And Mary Jane is a superhero now? Because at the epilogue, Mary Jane shows up. And it says Mary Jane, a.k.a. Jackpot.
Yeah, they kind of gave her some sort. I don't know if she has powers or if she just has a costume.
Yeah, Jackpot, model, actress, heroine, the sidekick. To Paul Rabin, technologist and glyph magic specialist, the assistant. Well, I guess there is sidekick and assistant to Dylan Brock, son of Venom, the Prince in Black, and the detective. Dylan Brock is a detective? All right.
I guess. I mean, how old is this kid? Last time I saw him, he was a child.
He looks like a teenager. There he is there.
Okay.
They're giving out PI licenses to younger kids now.
Yeah. Cable Love and Chrome #1. Award-winning writer David Pepose and superstar artist Mike Henderson. I have never heard of Mike Henderson. If he's really a superstar artist, I don't know.
They named him superstar in the credits.
Yeah, in the ad.
Yeah, because I thought Marvel wasn't allowing superstar artists to exist anymore.
That's a little worrying. They named him superstar artist up there.
Yeah. You know, kid, you're a superstar. Instead of we're going to up your salary from $10 a page to $10.50. How does that feel like?
See, now I know that wasn't Marvel. He set up the salary. What they gave him was a title. Or that's how old Marvel used to work. I don't know if current Marvel works that way.
Sleepy readers here. Greetings, comic book fiends. Who let you out of your cavern? Heard it as Luke Cage, but I don't read it to know. Yeah, they had a mystery that first issue, so I don't know. Eric P. says, I need an issue where Dylan Brock has to go through the New York process to get a PI license. Yes. The word superstar is very loose these days. What was that, Paolo?
You probably got a license in Alabama.
Yeah.
But what's funny is you think about it, a kid detective private eye is a very DC concept. A very DC comic concept that could very have well been a character.
Oh, that reminds me of what was that show Dean Haspiel won an Emmy for? Bored to Death. That's it. Dean Haspiel is one of the only Emmy award-winning cartoonists you'll ever meet. They won an Emmy for that. That's a show that ran on HBO. It must be 10 years ago now. And I forget the writer's name, but it's kind of loosely based on his life. And there's a character very loosely based on Dean. They use Dean's artwork for this character. And the writer was an unlicensed PI in New York City. He just started to post ads on the internet saying he was an unlicensed PI just because he had writer's block and was bored and wanted something to do. It's a good show, though, if you've never checked it out. But Dean actually won an Emmy for the opening credits, which he had something to do with his art.
Neat.
He's an Emmy award-winning cartoonist. It has never helped him. Yeah, there we go. Bored to Death. That's it. What's the writer? Jonathan something is the writer.
So I didn't get any Chris Giarrusso covers, but let's show one of the books that I did pick up. So, new issue of The Savage Dragon.
Ah, okay.
Or new to me.
Yep, that one came out last week.
Okay, since I didn't go to the shop last week.
There's some nudity and sexual situations in that one.
Okay, so I won't open it up. This is not Chris Giarrusso, but this has a nice cartoony back cover.
Yeah, it's like a version of the front cover, too.
Yes. Very much so. Let's open. What I do really like about Eric's work is that he does these classic big logos for the titles.
Yeah.
That I kind of miss, and I occasionally do it myself when I can. Here's another great page.
He gives you the Warlord double page spread on the page 2 and 3.
Yes. So I like it. It's the splash page, double page spread, things that makes comics fun.
Right.
That's why I do like visiting his books.
He really has an enthusiasm for superhero comics.
Yep.
That really comes through in his work. He's not just churning out product. He wants to make it good, and he loves doing it. So
Even down to a 6-panel page. So it's all classic comic books in his stuff.
Right. And every now and then, to keep himself interested, he'll get experimental.
Yeah.
He'll give himself certain parameters. Yeah, good stuff. I enjoyed that issue. But I enjoy all of them.
Yep.
It's a good book. Slowly making its way to 300. I think in the letters page in that one, he says someone was telling him he has to get it out faster or something. I forget who that was.
Everyone has to get to the 300.
Yeah.
Because it'll be the actual comic to be made by the same person for over 300 issues.
Though I think Gold Digger did that, which was a comic I barely knew existed.
Antarctic Press?
Yeah. But I think it went over 300 issues and then stopped just recently. That one guy was doing it.
Ben
But like nobody noticed.
Okay, Gold Digger had 50 issues, and then restarted from new number 1. And it did have 301. Okay. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, it went right. It went up to 149, and then it counted the first 50 as if it was part of the same volume. Went from 149 to 200. But most of these are not on the Grand Comics database.
I think I have one issue of it. Let's check my Jared database.
I'm sure I have to have an issue or two around because I know of Antarctic Press and they did a bunch of different stuff over the years.
Yeah. No, I don't even see it. God damn. Grave Digger, but I don't have Gold Digger in my database. May have put it in my done in one box and got rid of it. That is the fate of some series that I only have one issue of. They used to go in the done in one box, never to be seen again, but just recently I got rid of a bunch of them.
To your students?
Yeah. Gave them away at the beginning of the semester. I was like, here, you guys have some of these.
Were they appreciative?
Yeah, most of them are. Some of them really like them. Some are like, whatever. Got to find some who actually want them. There's one student I have who was like, give me all you got. I'll take them. I love comics. Give me some more. Some are like, I don't have any room, which I certainly understand. But now, art supply. I just gave away a piece of equipment to one of my students. At the beginning of this year, I bought that DJI Osmo DJI camera that's on a gimbal. And like months before that, I bought like a gimbal itself that you could put a camera on, which I never quite used. And then when I got that other camera thing, I really never used it. So I'm like, you know what? I asked, and one of my students wanted it, so I brought it in for her. I'm like, here, may as well use it. It's just sitting in a cabinet, doing nothing. There's a cool piece of equipment. Want to hear about a? I don't quite know if it's a scam. It might be. My one of my friends, Ed, sent me this photo, and he's like, "Do you think this is real?" And it was a page of Spider-Man Todd McFarlane original art. Think it was Amazing Spider-Man 317, page 20, if memory serves. He's like, "Do you think this is real?" I'm like, "Well, from that photo, it looks real, but I can't really tell." Because it looked like the actual page. There were some telltale signs. But then I've heard from him today. He's like, and he bought it. He's like, I don't think it's real, but it's kind of like buying a lottery ticket. So I think he spent $200 on it. He's like, some auctions, not a comic book place. And he was like, well, he's like, I checked Heritage, and it sold in 2012 for $20,000. And I'm like, Ed. He's like, yeah, it's probably not real. But who'd fake that? And I'm like, well, how did it go from being sold for $20,000 to in some random auction thing that's not even a comic book auction for $200? I don't understand the path there. So then I'm talking to him on the phone. I'm looking it up. I can't figure out. I'm trying to figure out, because I was like, it could be a page from like an artist edition. Because I know my comic shop wanted to do that. I know some do. What you do is you can sell you cut out a page from an artist edition and sell it as an individual print. Because my LCS owner was talking about doing that for like some of the covers that were. He's like, ooh, he's like, I can't sell the artist editions, but maybe I can sell the cover as an individual print for $10. So he sells, 8 of those, he's got his money back. So I was like, it could be, but then I looked that up, and it wasn't. It wasn't ever in an artist edition. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe it's. I'm like, I can't figure out the path it would take to go from somebody bought it on Heritage Auction for $20K to in this auction that you found for $200, some little auction somewhere for $200. Then after I talked to him, he sent me a link, and he's like, oh, well. And he sent me a link, and I looked on eBay too, and I found some old link to it, but he found a new link to a print. And sure enough, somebody was selling a print of, you can look it up on eBay, of that exact page and others for like $50. And he was like, oh, well, I got taken.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a scam to me. I've seen so many variations of scams like that where, is this even, if it's a copy that someone's not aware of that it's a copy.
Right.
Is it somebody's art sample? So it's original artwork because someone light boxed a McFarlane page and inked it. So it is original artwork, but it's not the original printed art. And as you mentioned about the page from the books, I've seen people listing that for sale, that it is a page from it. And I've gotten those, and there have been terrible copies. And they're pixelated. So it's like, all right, so you got the book, and then you made your own copies from the book. That's the only thing I could think of.
Or they didn't get the book, and just took someone else's scan of it. That's why it was
Yeah,
pixelated.
exactly. They may just pull the images from the Heritage
Right.
Auction website or any other website. They may have a high-res copy of it, but not a great
Right.
copy. So I would have been weary about it. Yes,
Well,
occasionally you may have something that was in someone's collection. That person could have passed away. The family has no idea what to do with
right.
it, and they get given away, sold, or what have you. And sometimes people don't know what they have, and they're just selling it. And they'll look up something online and go, "All right, this sold for this much," whatever was the first thing that they
Right.
looked up, and then toss the price on there. So that's the chance you take when you're buying something off the internet.
Right. And that's how they get you too.
Yeah.
Is they say, "Well, I don't know."
Yep.
Buyer beware. That's how it's not fraud if they say they don't know, and it's your own hopes and dreams that make you get it.
Yeah.
It's your own. Well, if I get this and get lucky, I've got a $20,000 piece of art. And Ed knew it was a lot. He's like, I just am so optimistic about it, but I know it's not.
Yeah, we all have that dream of,
Yeah.
someone gave me their collection, or
Yeah.
that type of stuff. And that happened to me and my buddy, where a friend of him is like, "Oh, you guys are always on the train reading comics.
Yeah.
I have some books. Do you want them?"
Right.
Wonderful trap to get a couple of kids off the train, really. But since my buddy knew him, we went to his house and he gave us a whole bunch of his old comic books. So my friend took all the Batman books. I grabbed Spider-Man, this and that. Nothing that was overly expensive, but they were probably, in the time in the 80s, they were probably like $20 books that we got for free.
Right.
So things like that does happen.
Yeah.
But again, it's hard.
All the warning signs were there, but he was still just being hopeful. Also, it was in a cheap frame.
Yeah. Okay.
No one spends $20,000 at Heritage Auction and then puts it in an $8 AC Moore frame.
Mm-hmm.
So that was less. So he paid $200 for a $50 print.
Yeah.
But he had hope for a day.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun story, and if if he's willing to lose that amount of money, that's the thing you get.
Sell pages ripped out of an artist edition. Yeah, some people do that.
Some people are doing that.
But like I said, my LCS owner, I don't know if he actually did it. He wanted to do, but he was selling them as prints.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this one is, but that's what. There was a show on in the 90s, BBC and A&E, called Lovejoy Mysteries. One of my favorite shows of all time. I watched many, many times, loved it. It's about a art dealer, kind of a con man, rogue in the 90s. Lovejoy, not Ian McKellen. Oh God! All of a sudden, his name flew out of my head. Guy from Deadwood who cursed all the time. Well, he played Lovejoy, and a lot of times there was art cons going on in the plots of the shows. Him doing some of them too, and so I could just see this. The con artists prey on your knowledge and your hopes. It's like they don't tell you what they're not like. Ooh, you can get this $20,000 piece of art for $200. They just put the fake in front of you and let you figure it out. And then you go, is this the real thing? And they're like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm no expert here. I just know it's on a piece of paper. And then they let you look it up and get all excited about it. So it's like, it's interesting. It played out just that way, kind of.
And it's funny because I've seen many of times when people are grading comics, and they also say, "Well, I'm no expert." And it's like, then why are you grading it? Why are you attempting to grade it? So you put down, it's like, "Oh, I'm no expert, but I could say the grade is this." And it's like,
Yeah.
No, you're not. My even though I sell non-sports cards, I don't grade them. I don't say it's a grade. I put, or I go to the old comic book grades, fair, this and that. I don't do number grades at all. So I only do like the classic near mint, and I never say anything's mint because nothing is ever really mint, especially when it's items, 30 years old that survived in a box, happily survived in a box. But none of the cards I ever would say is truly mint because, again, I'm no expert, but I do see people will put a number grade, and it's like, but you can't put a number grade on a raw book. The number comes from it being slapped.
Yeah.
You could guess and you could wish, but you have so many people, pointing out what some things are, or not even knowing what they have.
Yeah.
I see that a lot with the action figures. Lately, I've been looking at the 3.75 figures, like for MASH, which I know you didn't even know they even made action figures for MASH.
No idea.
So they made 3.75 figures, and it's mainly the, I think the third or fourth season group of them. There's 8 figures in it. And they're mostly using the same bodies, so you could only tell by the face. But even with the face, none of them are like perfect. You have an idea who it is. And since Klinger seems to be the more expensive one, a lot of people are posting that name on the figures in general, even though that's not a figure. So there's
just to get it in your search.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's one of those things where, they're playing with what they've read before. Oh, this sold, so these must be keywords, when it's not. And it's interesting to see, what looks like it could be, oh, this is either a mistake or the person is blatantly advertising one thing when it's really another.
Ian McShane, that's who played Lovejoy. And Sleepy Reader says, preying on human greed, and also hopes and dreams, kind of like, ooh, it's finally my chance to get lucky. And no, it's not.
Because there's always those stories out there of the the collector that found, the guy that was who found all those comic books on the side of the road. Yeah. And I think that was Mile High.
Okay,
they were created or something like that.
Well, he bought the what's this guy's Edgar Church collection, I think, made his that was the original collection he bought that made him so much money.
Right, but didn't he buy it because they were being thrown away and
I don't
found
remember.
them? If I remember the story correctly.
He may have got them from like a relative after the guy died, kind of thing.
Right.
That's usually what happened.
So it might have been that the relative passed away. They were getting rid of these books. They were literally putting it on the side of the road, free books. He drove up, saw them, asked about it. It's like, we have all these stuff. And then he bought it all. That is the story that I recall, although I could be mixing up two stories together.
Yeah, I don't recall that story, but
yeah, it's been a while since I've actually looked into that story. But so there's that hope out there that if it happened once, it would happen again. And it's like I found comics that were in long boxes tossed out.
Did you do your
and
laundry?
It was like, oh, but there wasn't anything great in them. So Eric P. also has a part of the Mile High story as well.
I'm back on. Yawn. Oh, Eric P. has something to say. According to what I have read, Mile High sale was passed on by other comic dealers, and there was stuff that was being thrown out that he did not take. Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, I haven't read the Edgar Church story in a while, but I remember the name because I've seen it on books. On CGC books. If and the stuff that he didn't take weren't comics. There you go. So who knows what other collections he had? Wonder what happened to them.
Even if you're Mile High, if he had pulps, you should keep the pulps.
I'm sure he would have taken pulps, but maybe not. I don't remember.
Scientific American?
National Geographic. That was the one that everybody had.
The New Yorker?
The New Yorker.
Oh, but the New York... I think the people who collect the New Yorker are willing to pay big bucks for them.
No. I don't know.
No, because there were some covers back in the day. When they did painted covers and Norman Rockwell stuff.
Okay. Is that the one that comes out weekly?
Yes, I believe so.
So there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so sure, not everything's worth anything, but if you have 30-year-old issues of Scientific American, some of them are bound to be worth something.
30-year-old? That only means the late 90s.
Yeah. We always forget. Yeah, 30 years old.
No, 30 years ago. Don't you mean the 70s?
The 1940s? I don't know if any issues from Scientific American from the 90s are worth anything.
Well, in the 90s, they probably have. So, what's this newfangled internet about?
I also got the second issue of Image Scene, the free monthly catalog.
Oh, I did not see that.
You can scan that and, I guess, get your own digital copy of it. Sleepy Reader found a very rough Hulk 181. So did I. One was given to me back in the early 80s. It was my only copy of Hulk 181 I ever had. So this is all the Image stuff that's going to be out in February. Bug Wars, number 1 of 6. A new Jason Aaron comic with art by Mahmoud Asrar. Ooh, I can't even speak tonight. I don't know, Bug Wars. That doesn't particularly interest me. Didn't we just see superstar artist Mike Henderson? Because here's The Hive number 1 by Story A.J. Lieberman and Mike Henderson.
Yeah.
Cover with bees being ejected from the gun. Nice cover.
How does that work?
I don't know. I guess he's shooting, I don't know, bees, but now they're gonna, I don't know. Because bees aren't casings, they'd have to be bullet inside the bee. A Creep Show one shot, Creep Show in Love. They've been doing this with Creep Show. Volume 1 had 6 issues. Volume 2 had 5 issues and a Christmas special. And Volume 3, I think, is having 5 issues and a In Love special. So I guess they're getting, instead of having 6 issues, they're having 2 #1 issues. And a pretty sneaky way of getting an extra #1 in there. But I've been buying that series and enjoying it. And here's something by Butch Geiss. Joe Pruitt and Butch Geiss. A random Stay Out of the Woods one-shot. And I find it interesting because this one's also in that this one-shot will be perfect bound magazine trim size. So it's kind of in that 48 pages, that same format as distillery books and sort of European graphic albums. So, so it's going to be $8 for 48 pages, which is about in line with 20-page comic being $4. Still not sure if I'll pick it up or not. It's a horror book. Because I'm not a huge fan of that format. I actually just don't like the square boundness. If it was a saddle stitched, I'd like it better. Kaya number 25. You guys ever read any of that?
I've never heard of it, and it's already up to 25.
Yeah, it's a Wes Craig book. Who's the artist from? Oh God! All of a sudden, it flipped out of my head. That one that got made into a TV series ever so briefly about the high school for assassins, which I can't remember the name of all of a sudden because I've got this cold.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. The name escapes me too. I never actually read it. I had gotten the first issue from some found books, and I just turned around and threw it. Deadly
Class. Eric P. has got the name for us.
There you
go. Sleepy Reader says New Yorker might have the first appearance of famous novels like In Cold Blood or J.D. Salinger's. Yeah, Wes Craig is from Deadly. He's the artist on Deadly Class, and I really like his art. I picked up the first couple of issues of this, and it was really, though I liked the art, it was really too much of an all ages adventure. It seemed like a young adult adventure to me. And that just kind of, I was just like, I ended up not picking it up. But I'm amazed to see it's gone 25 issues. There just wasn't anything in it for me, I would say. It wasn't bad. I think he's a terrific storyteller, his art. Of course, we've got Monstrous 55. I get that one as always. And Knights number 13. I don't remember Knights. Number 13. Perfect jumping on point for new readers. Story, Wyatt Kennedy. Art cover, Luigi Formisano. That's the problem with some of these indie books. Like, even if they get to issue 13 or 25, it's like you never get to see them because by that time, shops are only ordering for their pull list on them. Because who's going to buy issue 25? Who's going to buy issue 13 of Knights as a perfect jumping on point? If you don't know about it. Oh, I think it's a vampire story. That's probably why I ignored it.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to start Kaya with issue 25? People just don't do that anymore.
No.
Which makes it harder. Though I was, being that I only had 4 comics, I was, of course, looking around to the shop for something to buy. The weeks where I only have 4 comics, I can get an extra comic or 2. But there was just nothing for me to buy this week. And I happened to notice, besides the Marvel and DC stuff, which I wasn't going to buy, like almost all the indie stuff that they had out was like licensed stuff. It amazed to me how much licensed indie stuff there is. It's tough to call it indie stuff even. By indie, I just mean not Marvel and DC. Like the whole Energon universe, all that Transformers and G.I. Joe stuff. They had all of that there. All the what was it? The Universal Monsters stuff. They had a bunch of that there. Johnny Quest. There was just so much licensed stuff that I was like, oh, it's crowding out other indie books. If they said Wes Craig was a superstar artist, that I might buy. Yeah. Did you look at Welcome to the Maynard #1 at your shop? I remember that name. I must have looked at it, but I don't remember what it is. Or maybe I didn't see it. I just remember the name. I can't remember what it was. The one I did contemplate buying for the moment was a facsimile edition. Sleepy Reader says a lot of people on YouTube continue to rave about Kaya. Yeah, I see that. The only one I see buying it is, oh my goodness, his name just flew out of my head. Oh, it's the James Robinson and Jay Bone new book. I think I looked at it, but I can't. That's Welcome to Maynard.
Wasn't there a new one of those new ECs?
Yeah, but I haven't liked any of them.
Yeah, I guess.
I was looking at it like a Flash facsimile. It was like Flash comics from the Golden Age, but it was $8 for the facsimile. And the two, I picked up the first issue of the first two EC ones and didn't like either of them. I'm just like kind of off them now. I'm just like, eh. And they're $5 first issues too. So it's like, eh. Yeah, but maybe I'll give some Kaya issue a try because I do like Wes Craig. And let's see, they have re-offered again, I think was one of them. Offered again, Kaya Volume 1 to 3, trade paperbacks. You can order them. Then what else do we have here? Power Fantasy 6 and Radiant Black 31. These are two of my regulars. Radiant Black is finally done, I think, with the 2 issues a month with the 2 different storylines. I think they are. Oh, they have a foil incentive color, 1 in cover, 1 in 25.
There's a new West Coast Avengers title.
Yeah.
And they have Ultron joining the team. And Iron Man's gone back to the Silver Centurion armor.
Sleepy says Savage Dragon is one of the few you jump on with any issue. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tit Goblin says, as a fan has come and gone into the hobby, I find the giant push for licensed titles, mostly cartoons, not surprising considering the buying age. But it reminds me of Star era, early 80s. Yeah. Definitely, I mean, they're selling. Wilson loves those licensed comics, especially the crossover licensed comics.
Yeah.
give him a licensed team up, and he's there.
I'm all there for it. The sillier, the better. It just tickles me so much.
Right. I was just amazed at how many were there, and I think there were some from previous weeks. I got the first issue of West Coast Avengers. I enjoyed it enough to get issue 2, says Eric P. Okay, that's good. Tit Goblin, whatever happened to Star Comics? I think they just didn't sell enough, I would imagine.
Well, some of the comics continued. I mean, Star Comics started for licensed stuff, cartoon stuff. And then they launched the new ones, the Planetarian stuff, because they wanted to buy Harvey, and they didn't. They couldn't. And
Kid Goblin says, I bet that's an interesting origin business story. Not really. It's not that interesting. Marvel wanted to buy Harvey, like he just said. And instead, they just hired Sid Jacobson.
Yeah. Which is the same thing, right?
Yeah, he was the longtime editor at Harvey. And they went out of business. When did Harvey go out of business? I don't even know.
About 88, I guess.
So that they hired Sid. I don't even know Sid. Like I said, Sid Jacobson was a longtime editor.
Yeah, I think he was putting together something where Marvel was just about ready to buy them, and then something happened.
Right.
I think with the family, and then all of a sudden the deal fell through. And since they did a ton of work for it already, it was like, all right, we'll create a line. Right. I think that's where it basically came from, and it was where they put the cartoon books to it. Since they had all those licensing, the Marvel was just getting licenses left and right at that time. So they made a line for kids' books. And I think as long as Sid was working on it, they were keeping it up.
Yeah.
And there was a few times where they thought about revamping it, bringing it back, or bringing a kids' line. I remember they went as far as hiring a new editor for kids' comics. There was a stationery made up. This person was hired, and I never saw her show up to the office. But eventually, I had her stationery. And it has Spider-Man swinging, a cartoony Spider-Man swinging with a kid. And it was like there was a whole line created, and it never went anywhere. Or at least it was a line of stationery created. They were getting, they were ramping up to do something. And at the last minute, it just never went through.
And I know that, I don't know, when did that X-Babies comic that, like, Jacob Chabot and I think Greg Schiegel did 10, 15 years ago, they brought back Planet Terry.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was sort of an in-joke, right?
Yeah.
Mostly, yeah, because it was like they have those properties. Occasionally,
Greg really wanted to do it.
Some stuff. Huh?
I think Greg really wanted to bring back Planet Terry, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like every now and then things pop up. I mean, I have drawings of from John Romita Sr. drawing Spidey, a kid's version of Spider-Man before Greg was doing it, and I had Greg draw a couple of them at one point because I was trying to pitch that. Can we take this John Romita's idea and bring in and pitch, and it didn't work. It wasn't until Chris Giarrusso was doing the mini Marvel, something similar came out. But we all had that, like, trying to pitch it, I was trying to pitch Spider-Ham for a long time, and then begging Polly, just make a trade paperback. Just make the trade. It didn't happen. It didn't happen until like 5 or 10 years later. They finally made a Spider-Ham trade paperback.
Eric P. asks, is Harvey the one that was making more money on coloring books and comics weren't worth it? Well, not in the 60s. They had some of the best-selling comics. But maybe at the end, I don't know. Because, like I said, in the 60s, Harvey comics sold well. In the 60s, and who was publishing Richie Rich?
Harvey.
Harvey? Yeah, Richie Rich sold fantastic in the 70s. Early 70s, Richie Rich was selling 1 million copies a month. So they were fine for a while.
And the coloring books were usually done by another company. I don't think they were doing both coloring books and because they were licensed to coloring books.
Eric P. says, I was just going to ask when were we getting a Spider-Ham artist edition? Tit Goblin, Jared, don't you have a Star container? The only artifact from Star still being... No, I don't think I have a Star. Oh, one of the... Oh, that's right. This one right here says Star.
You have that.
Yeah. I forgot about that for a second. Star Comics, Care Bears. That's
and
right.
One of those Care Bears is Harley Salt by the collectors of the close-up headshots for the 25th anniversary.
Did Harvey sue Star? I don't know.
I don't believe so.
There was some sort of cease and desist because Royal Roy looked too much like Richie Rich.
Okay.
The Top Dog and Planetary had no, and Wally the Wizard had no issue. They didn't really look like anything else. That was. I guess Wally the Wizard is pretty generic, but it didn't look like another property. But Royal Roy was. You look at the cover to issue number 1, and you say, "Yeah, that was supposed to be a
Richie,
Richie
Rich." Right. Yeah, and Richie Rich sold a lot of copies in the 70s. Holy cow! I was reading about, and in the Harvey Comics. What is that? Whatever it was, Artist Back Issue magazine. I didn't realize how many copies Richie Rich was selling. A whole lot. Holy cow. Eric P. Which Star comic should Marvel hire Chris Geruso to revamp? Royal Roy. I think that would be a good one for Chris to do.
Remember few years ago when Marvel did a Ziggy Pig and Silly Seal one-shot? So Ziggy Pig and Silly Seal are from Timely's Funny Animals stories. And between 1942 and 1945, Marvel had a bunch of those. They were done by the Timely staff, and the editor was Vince Fago, because Stan Lee was pretending that he was writing all the spy manuals for the army. And there was Ziggy Pig and Silly Seal, Buck Duck, Super Rabbit. I think Super Rabbit was famous enough because they were always putting him on the cover fighting funny animal Hitlers.
Mm-hmm. Sell that stationery on Heritage. I gotta find them. It's been a while since I looked at them.
Let's see. We got Rat City 11 and World Tree 14. Of course, I'm getting World Tree. That's on my pull list. Rat City is another Spawn book. There's quite a few books in that Spawn line now. I gotta say, it's quite amazing at $2.99. Spawn's the only one on my pull list, but I have to commend Todd McFarlane for revamping that whole line, and there's at least half a dozen books in that line now.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of them, like King Spawn, is up there in issues, like up to issue 50 or something. We'll see when we run across it here. Oh, here they got the free comic book day specials. There's going to be an Energon Universe free comic book day special. The I Hate Fairyland one, and a Transformers Worst Bot Ever free comic book day special. So you got 3 of those coming out. I wonder if my comic shop in the past has, though I didn't notice it last year, you can order any because they have to pay for the free comic book day specials. So, and so they don't order each and every one. And if you want any specific one, they'll sell it to you at cost, which is usually, 50 cents or something like that.
Right.
But I don't think they did that last year. At least I didn't get it in an email. So, but it's not like I've won a ton of them anyway. But yeah, so make sure you tell your shop which free comic book day specials you want, because you can't count on most of the time. And what amazes me, I've seen this on YouTube in the past. Most like comic shops will say you can have 5 free books or something. And some people drive from shop to shop to shop, getting 5 free books at every shop. And I'm like, why? Nobody cares. It's not like free comic book day. It's just that, they're free stuff. They want it, and maybe someday it'll be worth $1 million. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't go out unless I get invited to the shop to do a signing or sketch cards and all that. Free Comic Book Day, I don't go to the shops because that's not for me. It's for people who, ideally, is to get people in the store that's never been in the store, to try out a couple of free comics. It's a great concept, but it's like, I don't need to do it. Now, I have enjoyed being in the shop, doing the signings and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, they show up and they give me like a goodie bag full of all these books. It's a nice plus. It's a nice benefit to bring them home and go through books that it's like, all right, Marvel and DC books I would have picked up anyway. What else do they have? So I do like that idea about it, where you could explore books you may have never even wanted to attempt to get. But again, it's kind of one of those things where it's a good concept, but I myself don't need to go to it as a customer because they already have my money. I already come into the shop.
Davian Dyer hits it on the nail on the head. Free comics take up space. Yes. I have, because usually, like I said, I'm not in Free Comic Book Day, but that following Wednesday, I could take, whatever free comics that I want. And I take very few of them because they take up space.
Yeah. And it's not like the shops here don't actually do Free Comic Book Day because getting stuff from America costs money.
Right.
But when it started, I got like four different copies of Superman the 10th Adventure.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't even give them away. Nobody cared.
And let's see, what are our half page? We have Blood Squad 7, number 7. I don't remember that one at all, by Joe Casey and Paul Fry. And Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger Spawn, Jimmy Palmiotti and Chad Hardin. I was like, there's even a Gunslinger Spawn spin-off. Wow. And I guess Jimmy's writing something for Todd. I didn't realize that. Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger Spawn. And as I said last month, I've tried to like Capra. Because it sounds like it should be up my alley. It's by, what's his name? Michael Fifi. And he's been doing it kind of on his own for years and years and self-publishing it. Then I think a few years ago, Image started publishing it. Then he went back on his own. Now I see Image. And he's got this superhero universe. And I think he also, this may be why I didn't like it. He's a really fan of G.I. Joe and the Transformers. So he tries to make his superhero universe like G.I. Joe. And I bought like one issue of it and was just like, oh my goodness, I really want to like this, but I don't. I really like the idea of supporting an independent artist doing everything himself, but I just don't like this comic. Maybe someday I'll try it. Oh, on the Department of Truth 2029, that's another one of my regulars, so I'll be buying that one. Then we got what here? Doll Parts, A Lovesick Tale. Luana Vecchio. Okay. Isn't that... who is Luana Vecchio? Vecchio. Vecchio?
Yeah, she's Brazilian.
She's Brazilian. Luana Vecchio. I guess she does something called Lovesick, which I thought... What's her name? Maria Lovett did. It must be something else I'm confusing it with. Or maybe just because her name starts with love, I'm confusing it with it. But that's not... And Drawing Blood. Did you try that one, Wilson? The Kevin Eastman one?
No, I did not see that.
Oh, it's issue 10 of 12 is out. And it's a... It's story David Avalone and Kevin Eastman, art Ben Bishop, Kevin Eastman, Troy Little, Jason Moore, Luis Delgado, and Tyler Esposito. And I think it's a sort of semi-autobiographical story because it's about a guy creating comics.
I was not aware of it. I don't think I even heard that it was in the works because I didn't know Kevin was doing anything else other than the turtle stuff he's been doing.
Well, he's doing something called Drawing Blood, so.
Nice.
I know you're a Turtles fan, so I thought you might have heard of it, but I guess we've never mentioned it here. Because I don't even think I picked up the first issue of it for whatever reason. Like they have a blank cover and working. I wonder if that's the cover, work in progress. There's the alternate ones, or there just wasn't a cover done in time. I'm like, what is that? What do we have here? Dust to Dust, issue number 3 of 8. J.G. Jones. I don't think the first issue of this has come out. There's Dust to Dust. So I haven't seen this one yet.
Yeah, that one doesn't sound familiar either.
J.G. Jones and Phil Bram. The final order cutoff must have run around if it came out in first issue comes out in because this is February stuff. Falling in Love and the Path to Hell. I bought the first issue of that and was like, yeah. G.I. Joe. Are you picking up these G.I. Joes, Wilson?
I have not. I've heard good things about them, but I haven't picked them up.
Are you more of a Transformer guy than a G.I. Joe guy?
I think it was just that it was easier for me to go back to Transformers than G.I. Joe. Not that there was anything wrong with G.I. Joe. Like I picked up a couple of the when that series was ending. I picked up some issues here and there, and it just didn't hold me to keep me going. Where Transformers, even though it is like the same universe type stuff, I just found more fun with the giant robots than the G.I. Joe stuff.
Because there's number 4 of the new storyline and number 314 of the old storyline. Oh yeah, it says the new storyline. It says Energon Universe. The old storyline is not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gunslinger Spawn is up to 41. That's the one. It's a lot of issues. Hornsby and Halo. I have no idea. Looks like an angel and devil motif. Peter J. Tomasi. Peter Snedberg. Schneeberg. Yeah, I'm never going to get that with a cold. Schneeberg. Hyde Street and Geiger, 2 more of the Jeff Johns ones. I Hate Fairyland is on issue 20. Ice Cream Man 44. King Spawn is on issue 43. Wow. Then something written and illustrated by Jesus Orellana, Juvenile. I have not heard of him. Jesus Orellana.
What? Jesus Orellana. He works with me, but he must be Spanish too.
Do you recognize that name at all?
Where have I seen his name? I think I've seen his name somewhere. Jesus Orellana.
I figure if they've got it's written and illustrated by him above the title, he must be famous somewhere.
I'm pretty sure I saw his name somewhere. But I don't
He's from somewhere.
All right, so let's check his Instagram. Oh, he did Violent Flowers with Marie Dove.
Violent Flowers. Oh, Gore Vidal is here. Falling in love is the path to hell. Facts. Hey, guys.
Didn't you buy, Jared? Didn't you buy Violent Flowers?
Violent Flowers. That's what he did. I remember that name. I don't think I read it. Sleepy Reader. Drawing Blood combines autobiographic with pulp crime mob stuff. Okay. So that's the stuff that Kevin Eastman is writing. And they're saying hello to each other. Violent Flowers. Now, are both of these, is he like from Spain or somewhere? Or?
Yeah. If he worked with Maria Jove, he should be from Spain. There's an Orellana in Bede Tech, but the French series that guy worked on was in 2008, so it's probably not the same guy. It's just Orellana. This was in some sort of French manga. There's a science fiction story called Alter. Only had one album. By Michael No and Esteban Mathieu. Probably not the same Orellana. 16 years ago.
The spearmint from that mint I ate is irritating my throat. And now I put some milder mints in. Hopefully that'll help. Let's see what else do it. Knights versus Samurai, number 6. I have no idea what this one is. Not a very interesting logo.
It's an intriguing title because it's one of those things where it's like, who would win kind of a thing.
Oh, look, they put the 2 Moon series on the same page. The Moon is Following Us and Moon Man. Are these in alphabetical order? No. J, K, L. Yeah, it is in alphabetical order. That's why. Null Hunter, number 5. I'm still not 100% certain if I'm going to buy. I have like issue 3 of Null Hunter coming in. But I'm still not 100% sold on the series. Do I really want 9 more issues? The Patchwork Girl of Oz. Another. Do you know anyone who's into the Wizard of Oz universe?
In this day and age.
Not really. I mean, I read the first book. I attempted to read the second book, audio, and I just couldn't stick with it. I do like the MGM version of it. I grew up watching it. And I do have a handful of action figures from a 50th anniversary line. But that's about it. I never got really into the comics other than the Marvel and DC one. And that was the Treasury edition drawn by John Buscema. What I like about that story is John drew that from memory, and he only watched the movie once when it came out.
Wow.
But he was able to draw it from memory. I'm sure he had some sort of reference, but again, that's about it. Like, I never read... Marvel did their own version of it for a hot minute,
right?
A 6-issue series or something. And
well, they had that Treasury edition. That was the one that was like Marvel and DC, right?
yes, that was the John Buscema one.
That was the.
So you had that one, but years later, Scotty Young, I think, did it through Marvel.
Oh, that's
Land
right.
of Oz or something like that. But I don't know how good it was. I never got to read it. I saw the covers. They look neat. But other than that, I don't know anything else other than like reading the first book. And of course, I know of Wicked, and I know like the musical stuff and all that, because you can't open a TikTok without running into one. So I know the generic story of it, but I would not at all say like expert or anything like that.
I've just never heard anything about like Wizard of Oz fandom.
It does have a fandom to it.
It must.
Yeah, it has to. I mean, for it to survive as long as it has. And it's just that there's not, that's a book fandom that you have a fans of just the book. And the historians is what they call themselves, the historians of Oz, because he himself wrote, I think, 12 books. And then they had other people continue the book series. And then he himself listed himself as a historian, that he didn't make these up. He's just retelling a story that was told to him. It's kind of about how he sold the whole concept. But there are fans out there. And then there are fans of just the MGM movie.
Right.
And they only know of that, and they only love that part of it.
But did you know that The Wizard of Oz was the first property from outside comics to be adapted into comic format?
No, I did not know that.
I did not know that.
In 1904, there was a Wizard of Oz comic strip.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, there were two competing comic strips featuring the Wizard of Oz, because the illustrator to the novel was given a percentage of the property, but then he had a falling out with L. Frank Baum, and created his own comic strip. Since technically he was still part owner, even if they didn't get along. So he was entitled to use the copyright on his own.
Nice.
Redcoat and Rockefellers. I guess these are two more of the Jeff Johns universe ones.
That I found looked interesting. I like the covers to them.
They've got a lot of nice art on these books.
Yes.
A lot of nice art. Here's another Rick Remender book that I never tried. The Sacrificers 15. I don't even know what that one's about. And then Sam and Twitch, which I know Sleepy Reader likes. I think he buys that one. Number 12. It's like a noir Spawn one. Scorched 39. There's another Spawn one that's up to a lot of issues. Sleepy Reader says, from now on, you should always insist on being billed as superstar designer, Jared Osborne. I'm going to have superstar in front of my name all the time, no matter what. Gorman says, McFarlane put out a line of Twisted Land of Oz action figures. Dorothy in high platform shoes, blindfolded with her hands tied behind her back.
I think I remember those.
I remember. I actually have some of them. My brother had bought a toy collection from a buddy of his, but he was really buying it for the cabinets, because he was buying the whole collection, so the cabinet, the shelves, and stuff like that. And he really just wanted the cabinets. He didn't care about the toys, so I ended up inheriting the toys from him. And there was a lot of the McFarlane stuff from it back when McFarlane was. He called them toys, but they were really statues, and because they didn't really have that much articulation, they were beautiful. Completely beautiful looking toys. And then he did this line of like weird stuff. The Wizard of Oz was one of them, but they were fascinating toys to look at because of the designs and stuff like that. Because McFarlane does really good monsters. He does a good job with those.
Gore Vidal says Comic Crack and Rasa are enjoying Sacrificers. I haven't been able to catch their show during football season, so I have not seen that. So good. Glad someone's liking it because that one slipped by me. I don't even remember that one. There were some cool Oz books written and drawn by Eric Shanower. Oh yeah, I remember those.
Those were published by Marvel, weren't they?
Yeah, I think they were Marvel. Epic Comic? Were they Epic?
No, they're much more recent.
They're much more recent than that?
Yeah, about 2006, I think.
Yeah. I think he may have been doing some of those before then, too, but I don't remember. I don't remember. Scorched. The Seasons #2. Oh, that's another Rick Remender one. Oh, that's the new Rick Remender's doing something with former bullpenner Paul Azaceta. The Seasons, which hasn't come out yet. I'll probably check that one out. Oh, and here's one of the books I got this week that I never thought would come out again. Snot Girl #16. Brian Lee O'Malley and Leslie Hung. The comic I never thought I would like. And it's the story of a fashion blogger. And she gets a girlfriend this issue and gets all romantic with her. I think they wrapped up all the plots from the first 14 issues. So now they're starting some new plots, I think it is. And it's just I just find it such a weird book sometimes too. Like this whole thing, they have the haters brunch where all the various bloggers get together and talk about all the people they hate. but then for some reason, where's this one? Someone who used to have brunch with them now wasn't. She's now having brunch with these younger influencer girls. So Snot Girl goes over there and talks to her. And then they've got Mother's Brunch going on. It's really hard to describe. But it's not your usual comic book. I'm glad to see it back. It's probably the thing most out of my wheelhouse that I read. Yeah, talk about a long hiatus. I think issue 15 came out in 2020, and I'm surprised they just kept going with. I'm surprised it's not a new #1. Yeah, and Sleepy says Sam and Twitch is great. That's the one. Shannon did the Indie Oz books and then wrote the Marvel Scotty Young Oz. Okay, so I'm thinking about the Indie Oz books, and he's thinking about the Marvel Scotty Young.
Yeah, it was Scotty Young.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah, those I remember the Scotty Young covers anyway.
So here's Snot Girl 18 coming out in 2 months. So I guess they really are continuing it. Spawn 363. Stand Still 7. This is the one that Stand Still I bought the first issue of, and it was okay, but I didn't like the format, kind of. What is this? Mirka Andolfo's Sweet Paprika, open for business, #4 of 5. Okay. This cover this is not by Mirka Andolfo. The story is by Steve Orlando. I don't know who does the art, but I don't know Sweet Paprika at all. So it seems that like Snot Girl was 8 years ago. Yeah, seems like forever ago. That I was reading a story about a fashion. Well, let's see. When would issue 1 have come out? If 2019, 2018? Who even knows? I'd have to look. But it's definitely not your average comic book. Tin Can Society continues. That's the one I've been picking up. That's been pretty good. 6 of 9. Transformers, Void Rivals. You've been getting Transformers and Void Rivals, right?
Only Transformers. I haven't picked up the Void Rivals ones.
That one's been selling pretty well for my LCS, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read any comics this week, Paolo?
I read the West Coast Avengers and the JSA #2.
JSA.
Jeff Lemire is writing JSA.
Okay.
And it's kind of weird. I mean, he's using concepts from the previous iterations by Jeff Johns, but it's getting weird. I mean, there's a lot of action, and it doesn't stop. But it all seems kind of pointless so far.
A nice pointless JSA comic.
Yeah, I mean, all of the big JSA villains are ganging up on the JSA because they are.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah, that's what they do. And they want Dr. Fate's helmet again.
Because why not? It's a weapon.
Mm-hmm. Well, this time it's Wotan leading the Injustice Society.
Who are the JSA's enemies?
Okay, so
Solomon Grundy, was he one of them?
Yes, Solomon Grundy. The Gentleman Ghost, Johnny Sorrow, Wotan, Mordru, the wizard. Wotan's the wizard as well.
Yeah.
Per Dagaton, the Ultra Humanite. Well, I guess they took over the Ultra Humanite because being a Golden Age villain, they're not going to associate it with Superman anymore. And for because of Jeff Johnson's run, Cobra, the organization, the Cobra version of the DC universe, they're a recurring villainous organization who keep bumping into the JSA, or the JSA keeps bumping into them.
We are the Cobras.
And besides, as far as crazy cults go, they took over as the main crazy cult in the DCU from Brother Blood's stuff.
The Walking Dead Deluxe continues. 106 and 107. And I just, once again, as I said last time we looked through this, I just wonder how many copies those are selling. Because it seems like it wouldn't be a lot. Mm-hmm. And here's this one that came out this week. The new What's the Furthest Place from Here, issue number 20. As our teenage heroes continue on their journey to wherever. This was the one that originally took place in a city. And in this city, there were no adults. There were only children. And these people outside who were the strangers. And each group of children, their culture, their gang, was wherever they lived. Like our gang here lived in a record store. So they were the music children. Then there were the children who were the cops. There were the children who were like the carnies. All the kid gangs had a theme. Eventually, their record store burned down, and they just had to go on a journey, and there was no place for them to go. So it was finally like last issue or the issue before, we learned a little bit of the backstory of why there were no adults. And along the way, they kept running into more kid gangs. So now they just keep moving along. They didn't run into a kid gang. They ran into an actual adult who was living out in the wild. And now they were living on out in the wild too. Until at the very end, they ran into some other record store. They're just like, dun, 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 what? Another record store? So it's got a weird little plot going on. And the art is imaginative. And the plot's kind of imaginative. And this was, I think last issue we had this story of this lighthouse that burned down. And in this issue, they ran into the lighthouse. So it was a little throwback, but it's a fun comic. Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg have been doing this one with a couple of films. And here's issue 22 of it. So it's been quite a few. And Witchblade is up to number 8 of the new Witchblade. Talk about a comic I haven't read a lot of. Let's see. Gore Vidal says, my LCS gave me a stack of comics, including almost 30 issues of Bone. Wow. An early 2000s Dynamite Battlestar Galactica comics. Yeah. One is a 4-issue mini written by Remender. Wow. Your shop can't sell any Bone, so they just gave it to you? I think it was this summer I remember showing you guys. I finally filled in the 10 or so issues of Bone I was missing. So now I have the whole series. And that was after I reread it digitally. Basically, yes, Jared. Yeah. We can't sell these. Here, you have them. Did either of you two watch Battlestar Galactica?
I did.
On and off.
I barely remember it, but I did too.
I watched it. I remember enjoying it to a certain point.
Yeah.
And then, like most sci-fis that you enjoy, that I enjoy, that it gets to the point where it's like, oh, what were they thinking here? And it got weird at some places. But I think I enjoyed mostly when they did mirror some stuff from the original series. So I kind of liked the updated retelling of the story. And it was very enjoyable, but it wasn't a sci-fi that I went back to. Like I sometimes will go back to Star Trek and watch a whole run of like Deep Space Nine. I don't think I've done that with Battlestar Galactica. Once I was done, I was done.
I remember liking it and finding it a train wreck all at the same time.
Yes.
Or so, if it isn't one first print, no one cares. Yeah, there you go. With Bone. Issue 1 first print, everyone wants that. No one cares about the rest.
Yeah.
Gore, the comic book graveyard. Gore says, I enjoyed season 1 in 1980. The second season was terrible. I enjoyed the relaunch in the 2000s. Thomas they gave me had photo covers, which I liked. Yeah, I did not. I remember in 1980 watching the movie and thinking it was the first episode, which was like 2 hours long, and finding it so dull. I didn't watch any of the others. I liked Galactica 1980 better than.
Really?
Yes, because it was so goofy.
So the original Battlestar Galactica, I never watched the movie, because back then they would launch it as a movie,
right,
and then as a TV show. I enjoyed watching the TV show, because I may have saw that before I saw Star Wars.
Okay.
As a kid, so because that was on television, so I watched a bunch of episodes. Never anything in order.
No.
So for me, it was interesting to watch, and it had enough of a silliness, because when you're watching Battlestar Galactica, you take a look at the ships. There's a set of ships that says movers on it. And yes, it is a fleet of whatever ships were left over from the massacre. Anything that could fly, they took. But there was a set of ships that had movings on it. So it was like truckers in some cases, and then, starships and stuff like that. And I always found that fascinating just to look at. And I have some of the action figures from those, but they didn't make many. And I like it that it's a deadline that you can get. They're not too hard to get. Like the Star Trek line. It's the aliens, the weird creature aliens, that ends up being a lot of money. Where the regular figures, and they only made two. They only made Apollo and Adama.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't make any of the other figures because the Richard Hatch character didn't get made because he says is because of Leonard Nimoy asking for money for the for because they were slapping Spock on everything and not paying him anything merchandise wise. So he made a big stink about it, as he should.
Right.
And so he was getting actors money for their toys and stuff like that. When it came up to Battlestar Galactica, from what I understand, Richard Hatch's agent or something said, "Oh, I want this kind of money," and they were like, "No, we're not paying for that." So they never made his character. Like, he's one of the main characters of Battlestar Galactica, and they never made him. And it's like, you know, just getting into the little toy history type stuff like that. It's just fascinating to look. And Mattel made those figures.
What? We have to pay someone? No, thank you. Gore Vidal is not a fan of my not being a fan of Battlestar Galactica. What?
There was one episode. Most episodes were inconsequential, but there was one episode of the original Galactica that I remember liking, which is the one guest starring Patrick McNee.
Okay.
Because he was sort of an infiltrator, and he was a politician, and it's the kind of themes that they only got to explore in the remake, but it kind of made the original Galactica, on that episode in particular, more sinister.
Right.
So I like that the character that McNee portrayed, because McNee has that smile that you're used to seeing in the Avengers when he plays Steed, and he's friendly, but now he has the same smile, but now he's creepy.
Yeah.
The character he was portraying was called Shaitan, which is the Arabic name for Satan.
Okay.
No, he was not Shaitan. He was Iblis. Iblis is the devil. Is the name for devil in Arabic. So if you know the word Iblis, you kind of think it gives it away, but nobody else in the episode is on to him. So everybody likes him, but the smile is creepy. So you know that it's supposed to be bad.
But that was the thing with that show, is that every now and then you had a really good episode that was written well. And, you know, if you guys ever have the chance on YouTube, look into the history of Battlestar Galactica. It's fascinating because they sold the network one type of show. And while they were working on the show, the network decided, nah, let's do this instead. It is a perfect way to see how the network starts messing with the formula while they're working on it. And what the concept they had was fascinating, and what we got was basically what we had left.
I don't remember James Seymour on Battlestar. Well, I only watched the opening movie, so I don't really remember. I don't even like it. My opinion on it is expired because I don't remember the actual show. I just remember my opinion on the show from when I was 14. Yeah. So it's not like my opinion matters. Gore says, I like Patrick McNee a lot on the Avengers. Yeah, I always liked the Avengers, which I used to watch on CBS. I didn't watch the Avengers, I think, to the 90s when it started running on A&E. I may have seen an episode of it, too, when I was younger, but never really got to watch it. Eric P. says, the original BSG was when I was 8 or 9 years old, but there are only a few of those original episodes that hold up 40-plus years later. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like just a few of them are really good.
Sleepy Reader says it was all about Superstar Robot Dog on Battlestar.
Daggett. Which was played by a monkey.
When I was a kid, I liked I watched only the black and white episodes of the Avengers, and I kind of liked it. But many years later, I got a chance to see the entire series, even after it got color, and that thing got psychedelic Like you could tell that the writers were on drugs. They were making they were trying to do James Bond plots, but they were way out there.
Let's see. Eric P says, I do have some Marvel BSG comics in the early 80s that are of note. There's some solid talent who worked on the book. I got this sometime in the 80s, the Marvel Super Special of Battlestar Galactica. I think Walter worked on some of this.
Yeah, and Roger McKenzie wrote some too. I'm not sure.
So there was I think I got this after Battlestar Galactica was long done. But there's some Ernie Colon did the art on this issue. And so there's some nice Ernie Colon art in this.
Yeah, Walter was the regular artist on the ongoing series.
Yeah, I think I may have had some of those issues too. Is this Howard Bender? H. Bender. A nice poster in the middle. Yeah, but I remember liking the comics. Somebody came. But yeah, there were some pinups by top Marvel artists. So there were some good. He says, yes, Simonson. Yeah, like I said, I think I remember seeing his work there. Eric P. had been waiting for those comics to come into my shop. Walter Simonson worked on them. Thanks, Sleepy. It's odd. You never see those comics here. Lots of Star Wars, though. Walt, Stephen Grant, Klaus Janson, and Ernie Colon. Because Ernie Colon did... I don't know if this is the first issue. This is Marvel Super Special number 8, 1978. Does this have the same numbering as the magazine?
Issues 1 to 3 reprinted the Super Special.
Like there was a Marvel Super Special, as far as I knew, was a magazine size one.
Yeah, and there were both formats. I think
this format too.
Yeah, during the 1980s, they did a square bound and a magazine.
And I know the Marvel Super Special that adapted Blade Runner only came out in comic book size, not magazine size, and no one remembers why. I asked Jim Salicrup, the editor, about that. He didn't remember why. It's like we were probably trying something. Thought it sold better. Thought it would sell better that way. Yeah, I can admit. The cops are after you. Yeah, I can't tell you the last time I saw Battlestar Galactica comics, even on YouTube. I never see anyone showing them off, or at least the old ones. I have zero interest in Star Wars comics except those by Al Williamson. No offense to Chaykin, an artist I admire. Well, Howard's tired of seeing those Star Wars comics too. Yeah.
You won't sign them for you. No, no matter how much you ask.
He could never see them again.
Well, I guess if he can charge $50 for the signatures.
Yeah. I think he signs them. He just doesn't want to. Let's see. What else do we have on here? Snot Girl, Stand Still, Witchblade. Has anybody ever read Witchblade regularly? Because I never have.
I picked them up when they first came out as part of the whole Image thing at the time. I couldn't recall anything about it. I even watched the TV show, and again, there's nothing of it that was memorable story-wise. It was pretty to look at. I did like the artwork in it, but I couldn't tell you what it was about.
In 1998, we were getting we stopped getting Marvel and DC comics in Portuguese, and so I was going through withdrawal. So I tried out some comics that normally I wouldn't, and I ended up buying the 8 issues that the Brazilian publisher Globo put out of the first Witchblade arc.
Ah.
And yeah, I mean, it's pretty. It's Michael Turner. It's pretty, but the story is so basic.
Gorval says, speaking of Howard Chaykin, I think a Black Kiss Omni is coming out in 2020. Yeah, I think it's coming out. I think I pre-ordered that. I think it's coming out like early 2025.
Yeah, years after pretty much every European country getting it in their own language.
I'm not 100% sure I pre-ordered it, but I think I did. I know I thought about pre-ordering it. So it's like, yeah, let's see. Black Kiss Omni is slated in shops June 18th, 2025 per Diamond website. Then I don't know if I pre-ordered it or just heard about it, because it would have to be on final order cutoff for me to pre-order it. So maybe I didn't. Tit Goblin says, I always think Wilson Sirens are mine. Wilson Sirens are mine. New York City and St. John's downtowns both have constant sirens.
Yeah, because I'm on a main road, they gotta go by here. So that's why I always have them.
I would assume Black Kiss is no longer so shocking. I don't know. I read Black Kiss Volume 2, and I think people would still find it shocking. I mean, not as shocking as it was in the 1980s, probably, but still a little bit. After Crossed, nothing is shocking. Yeah, there we go, Gore. But not a ton of people have read Crossed. Gore Vidal, my LCS contacted Image and had local artists submit cover art for issue number 1. They agreed, and the artist got his work published. My LCS didn't charge the artist. Didn't charge the artist. Shouldn't the artist have charged your LCS? Isn't that? See, that's what I don't like about contests. It's like you get a whole bunch of artists to work for free.
Mm-hmm.
And then the LCS pays for a custom comic that they sell. You're supposed to pay the artist for that. That's why, like I said, I never get involved with contests.
I've seen some art contests where it's like you have to pay.
Yes.
To be a part of it.
That's another one.
I don't recall if it was Heavy Metal who did it. There was one comic book company that did a contest to do a cover, and they were charging an interest fee.
That's
to do their cover.
That's fairly standard in like the fine art world, which is a ripoff too.
Right.
Where they we're going to have a juried show. If you want to enter your stuff in the jury, it's $10 a painting or something. And they always say we charge an entrance fee because we only want serious people, but really you find out that they use that's the money they use to put on the show.
Yeah.
Sony Music once did something. So there was a time when Wes Borland quit Limp Bizkit, and they were going to have a contest to replace Wes Borland as Limp Bizkit's guitarist.
Yeah.
No, one of the things, if you came up with a riff during the audition, Sony Music would keep the riff, give you zero money, and you had no guarantee of being pre-selected to anything. And in the end, Wes Borland came back to Limp Bizkit. So,
yeah. Gore Vidal, it was Witchblade. The local artists were happy to do it. Being published before. That doesn't make it ethical. Mm-hmm. That people are willing to be taken advantage of doesn't make it ethical to not pay for a paying job. Especially when there's people who are trying to make a living doing that. That's what I don't like about these content. I mean, especially since the comic shop was making money off it by selling their, at least I assume they were, because that's why comic shops do that, to sell their store custom variant. It's not like the comic shop's not making money off it. It's not like, Image isn't making money. The only person not making money off it is the artist doing the art.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it unethical.
You know where I hate seeing that? Music festivals.
Yeah.
We're going to have all the great bands that you like. Entrance fee $70 for the whole weekend. We are looking for volunteers to work for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how literary fiction contests work, and they support lit journals that way. Yeah. I mean, if you want to support the lit journal, go right ahead. But don't tell me a story about how we do that because we only want serious entries. It's like, no, you don't. You want that to make you money. It was a comic book exclusive. Yeah. That's why it's just, they could have thrown the artist a couple $100. I mean, it's the old "you die of exposure" meme, where there's no pay, but we promise you good exposure. You die of exposure.
Exposure kills.
Cook Jared, 100% agree. Yeah. I'm sure that, I mean, the reason that the comic shop does that is to make a little cash. They could throw a little cash to the guy who does the work. But like I said, and often you'll find in these contests, it's a way to get IP too. I'm not talking about the comic shop one, but you will often find in some of the forms you have to sign for entering a contest that they own whatever you enter with. So it's like it's a way of getting a whole bunch of art for free. Even the ones that say, oh, if you win this contest, you get $100. Well, they just collected $1,000. They paid out $300 in winning fees, and they own all the artwork. It's like, oh my God, everything in life is a scam. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Sleepy Reader says there's a free alt newspaper in Saddle where each artist pays for their page in the paper. The opposite of the way it's supposed to work. Oh, well.
Well, I guarantee you that the owner of the free alt comics newspaper is making money.
Yes, yep. No doubt. Then let's see. We're into the trade paperback section, where we've got Cowl, 1964, which I've never read and didn't know was a Massive Verse book, which is the superhero universe with Radiant Black and Rogue Sun and a bunch of other people. And it looks like they're also putting out a compendium of East and West. That's one of those giant editions like I have back there of Black Science. If you see, let's see, that one right there, the 45 issues of East of West in one $60 compendium. I'm not gonna buy it, but I want to reread my original issues. Let's see. The artist kept the artwork. Well, yeah. They didn't buy the artwork. Saying the artist kept the artwork is like saying I bought an apple and got an apple. I don't know. The artist is supposed to keep the artwork. They're only buying the printing rights to it. Otherwise, they'd have to pay sales tax on it, and they never did that. It is allowed to sell as well. I mean, I'm not saying it's a horrible thing for the LCS to do because they're just a little LCS. But come on, they could have thrown them $100. But East and West is a good book that I want to reread.
There have been like I had found, you know how Facebook will remind you about things you posted years ago. I had one that popped up recently that was it wasn't part of a contest, but it was part of a thing where it was like, you know, we can't pay that much, but we'll guarantee we'll put your name in the book.
Nah, it's like,
And it's
well,
like,
yeah,
you're supposed to. That's common.
that's not a perk.
That's not a perk at all. You're supposed to put the name in the book. So it was like, because I always see a lot of postings where it is basically someone decided that week, we should make a comic book, and doesn't look into anything and goes,
Nope.
here's a perk. We'll put your name in the book. You're supposed to. You want to hire me. One of the things you're supposed to do is put my name in the book. And give me at least 5 copies of the books. The other thing too is like, or we'll sell you the books at cost so you can make the money at the con. It's like, no, I'm not going to also sell your book. Because
and what kills me too is I don't think like a lot of comic shops know how cheap it is to hire comic book artists.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably hire a fairly big name comic book artist for $1,000 to do your custom cover. I mean, don't you think that with $1,000 budget, you could probably get a decent comic book artist to do your custom cover, which isn't that. You could probably make that $1,000 back.
Yeah, especially if you're printing those books.
Yeah.
And you're selling them not only at your shop, but if you're taking them to cons as well.
Yeah.
Well, I do know a few comic artists who are just doing that, who are doing custom covers.
Right. They order their own. They can order them from Marvel, sort of.
Yeah.
I think they can. But I'm like, I don't even think comic shops realized how cheap a lot of comic book artists work for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's not because I imagine it costs more money to get the book published through Marvel than it does to hire the artist. I mean, a lot. I don't know how much. Like, how much money do you think it would cost? Let's just say you're an LCS. You want 1,000 copies of the latest Spider-Man with your own cover on it. How much do you think that 1,000 copies will cost you? $2 an issue? $2,000?
I think it'll probably be as high as $5,000 because someone told me the number once, and it made sense for comic book shops like Midtown Comics that has 4 stores.
Right.
So it was more economically viable to do it that way. But that was a while ago. I heard those numbers.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe
it used to be on the website.
Oh, okay. We'll have to look it up.
You used to be able to go to the Marvel website, and there was a section there where you could get your cover done, and like there was a section there for a while you could get Spider-Man to come over to your shop or to your convention and stuff like that. I was even considering once, the money wasn't there, but considering once getting Spider-Man to hand out my books at a show before they put a stop to that, because they was like someone did something similar. But yeah, for a while you were able to rent Spider-Man for the day.
Yeah, hand out your
the Marvel website.
See, Jared, how much would you charge your LCS to do a vanity cover? Oh, $1,000 would easily get me to do it. How low would I go? It depends on. I would go no lower than 500, and that's for coloring and inking, and that's for a finished cover. So they wouldn't have to pay anyone else anything. How about you, Wilson? What would you say?
That sounds about the right number.
Yeah.
I would do it for 500. I would do it for, if I was doing all the pieces, I would try to get $1,000.
Yeah. I feel I heard a lot of variant cover art goes for $350. Yeah, a lot of comic book artists work for cheap. So, and they're all thinking if I can get 1 in there, maybe I can get 10. So, yeah, I can see some comic book artists doing it for $350.
Yeah.
Saying, all right, one figure, maybe a little background. Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to do it for $350, but I can see it being done for that. So that's why I say, your comic book art, your LCS could throw the artist a few bucks. Like they could hire a pro.
And I do know like some small press guys who will hire a big name artist to do their covers.
Yes. Yeah.
They will
see that
hire.
all the time.
I've done that plenty of times where I get called up and say, "Hey, can you color this cover?" Because they already got another pro to do the pencils and inks, and they want a pro to do the coloring. So it's like I'm almost guaranteed at least 3 books a year from one company that's like, "Hey, color these covers for us." And I usually give them like two or three alternate covers just to, because usually the background is pretty plain. So I end up giving them like a couple of different choices of backgrounds because they'll just reprint those as well as, cover B and cover C and stuff like that. And it's like, again, it's many, many times that I would get called in for small press guys who are, paid a little extra to get a name. I have a cover from my books from Steranko. Because we were part of basically there was a jam cover being done. So you had all these characters on there, and it each cost us a pretty penny just to get it on the jam cover. But he drew it in such a way that we could remove our character and it be a solo cover. And so some people were doing it that way as well, where, Steranko got his high-priced Steranko money, but each person who contributed into it was able to at least afford their character, at least drawn by Steranko. And it was, part of a massive cover, but at the same time, we could remove that character and use it for an alternate covers ourselves.
All right, let's see. A $4 comic book. What does Marvel usually get out of a $4 comic book? $2?
Something like that. I don't know what the numbers are.
Somewhere, I don't know the exact, but somewhere 50%, 60%, 40%. I don't know what the number is. Let's just say 50%. So if on a normal $4 comic book, Marvel gets $2 of, I imagine if you're getting your custom one done, they'll give it to you for $3. An extra dollar because it costs them nothing extra.
Right.
All these extra covers cost them nothing. The printer is willing to print it, change out the file, boom. We add on another 3,000 copies. We'll just add it to your total. It's not like if Marvel's paying for 100,000 copies, they'll just, and now it's 110,000 copies. They just charge you for the 110,000 copies, which you would have been paying $2, getting $2 a copy for. Now you're getting $3. So you're making extra money. So I imagine it's not terribly. So if you want to get 1,000 copies at $3, $3,000. You're right. Maybe it is 5,000. I don't know, but I imagine it's adding $1,000, adding another $500 onto that, $1,000 onto that for a big name artist.
Yeah, I know it's not that expensive, only because they used to be able to. There was an ad at some point, I think in one of the Diamond previews, when Marvel started that program, to have a comic book shop have their own cover.
Right.
And I guess they might have been tiers on getting a Marvel artist to do it or getting your own artist to do it. And I know there are companies that if you look at certain catalogs, you see that there are incentive covers only made for that company. I believe Dynamite Entertainment was doing that for a while too, where they would have a Marvel book that they sold directly in their catalog that would be their own cover, and they would get one of their own comic book artists to do it. So it is very possible for a comic book shop. And as I mentioned, the shops that have more than one store is probably more affordable for them to do it for their chain of store than it would be for one store to do it.
And Sleepy asks, how much extra to get the printer to switch files? From what I understand it now, it costs nothing.
Right. They're not physically moving things around like they used to.
Yeah.
It's literally a file and press print.
Because I can remember when Marvel used to have the 2 Marvel Masterworks covers because they revamped the Marvel Masterworks line and came up with a new dust cover. Some fans were like, especially, I think it was Mile High Comics really was the one they started. They started printing 2 versions of it because so many people were upset. They wanted all their spines to match. And all of a sudden they got this new design. They weren't happy about it. And I think they were charging $10 more for the old spine. And it cost Marvel nothing.
Yeah.
To have the second dust cover printed. I think they eventually stopped doing it. I'm not sure if they still do that. I don't think, because I think the other price raised so much that they didn't spend $10 more. But yeah, you can print as many covers as you want on the same book, and they won't charge you extra for swapping out the files anymore because the printer wants the work, and I don't think it's much work to swap out the digital files.
No, not at all. I've printed many alternate covers for clients, and it would go into the same printers because the interiors are printed on one machine, the covers are printed on another, so they can easily swap out the covers too, and then add them onto the to the interiors later.
Even with self-covered books, it doesn't matter.
Right, I don't know if Marvel is self-covers or not.
Yeah.
I think
I think that the thinking is from the printer is let's say we print 50,000 of this book. If you want alternate covers, that's another 20,000 we can charge for. If we put a fee on switching covers, there's that now is a barrier. That now is we could have printed 70,000, but we wanted an extra X amount for printing 70 with the alternate covers. Now we're only printing 50,000. So they don't want that barrier there.
Right.
Especially when it's so little work for them to switch out because all it is switching out the pages of a PDF for them. And making a new play. I don't even know how that. I did get that book on the history of printing comic books. I don't know if you saw that Kickstarter. I got a digital copy of it. But I don't have to look on I'm not even sure how they switch things out currently. I haven't seen them print in so long.
Yeah, I have not either.
I know all I do is give them a separate PDF and they take care of it. That's all it is for me. But yeah, I think at one point they may have charged, but then they saw it as like a barrier for printing extra copies, and now they don't. Because the printers want to print 70,000 rather than 50,000. Because that's extra money for them. For not extra work. T.O. Morrow's store. Oh, I just got an email. There's a publishing sale at T.O. Morrow's. 2 Morrows.
See, even if you read in the indicia, they also have a custom solutions and advertisement. So you can pretty much call Marvel and get a custom comic made if your company's large enough.
That just reminded me, the indicia, Trump's tariffs. They may be affecting comic books.
Because they're coming from China.
They're printed in Canada. I mean, I have no idea how they're going to work. I know Trump doesn't either.
Right.
But all these books printed in Canada and China, and where did I just see? One book I just saw was published in Eastern Europe. I forget where. But if he puts a 25% tariff on everything coming from Canada, does that make all our $4 comics into $5 comics?
It might.
Yes.
It very might. Because you'll see the price go up, and it'll be blamed on that, whether or not the tariffs go through.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there are companies that are raising their prices and going to blame it on the tariffs, even if the tariffs doesn't happen.
So I don't think they want $6.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, that's gonna not be good for comics and comic shops because already prices are too high for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And look, there's a Holy Roller trade paperback for those of you who want to read the complete story of our bowling hero fighting Nazis.
Holy Roller. That sounds familiar. I don't recall that though.
I bought the first issue of it and couldn't. It's by first of all, it's by Andy Samberg and Rick Remender.
Andy Samberg.
He's the Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Saturday Night Live. Write a comic about a vigilante hero who smashes people's faces with a bowling ball.
He must have really loved Mystery Men.
Yeah. $5 is already the stand. Yeah, they're going to go up to $6 then. Like, and 25% of all the poutine gravy we spill in the comics while they print is getting expensive. So I just find it hard. I read the first issue and was like, oh, this is too goofy for me. A guy who discovers he has bowling-based superpowers and is taking on Nazis in his hometown. Kingpin meets Inglorious Bastards meets Batman. That old chestnut with equal parts action and humor. Oh, this is the deluxe edition hardcover. Oh, no, that's something completely different. This is, the trade, that's not complete. 9 issues for $10 isn't so bad, though. 144 pages for $10. For some reason, underneath it, they have offered again a Righteous Thirst for Vengeance deluxe edition hardcover. So I was like, oh, which was good. Oh, you can get your Youngblood Vault edition, which is an artist edition, for $150. So it's Youngblood 1 through 4, covers, pinups, trading cards. I'd like to look through it for nostalgia purposes, but not really. By the way,
$50.
Not for $150. This is why people say Rob Liefeld can't draw feet. Mm-hmm. When he draws a random curved horizon line at the bottom, just so he doesn't have to draw feet, which I don't blame him for. But he made it obvious. If Chris were here, he'd argue with me, but he made it obvious. That's why people caught on. Like I said, I don't think he couldn't draw feet. I think he didn't want to, because who wants to? More trade paperbacks, Remote Space, Rifters, Silver Lake, Self-Help. Rifters is the one I've been buying with time travel. That one's been okay. Remote Space, I don't recognize. Cliff Rathburn. Self-Help, I don't recognize. Owen King, Jesse Kellerman, Mariana Ignazi. Silver Lake, I don't recognize. John Zur Platten. Andrea Muti. I remember that name, Andrea Muti. Where from, though? I don't remember. Let's see if it tells us. Nope. Action Adventure, Native American. Crime Mystery, Action and Adventure. Crime Mystery, Humorous, Science Fiction. Action and Adventure, Dystopian, Science Fiction. And everybody seems to like this Universal Monsters one.
I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about it. Because Michael Walsh, I know, draws it, and he's good.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the, what is this? It's the hardcover. $25, 112 pages. Creep Show, Volume 3, trade paperback. Criminal, The Dead and the Dull. We lost Paulo.
Yeah, he took off.
Invincible with yet another printing of Volume 8 there. Have you read all of Invincible?
No, I've the only thing I know of Invincible was the animated series.
Okay.
That's
Did you like it?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot in the animated series. But I never got the comic books.
Yeah, the comic books are excellent. You'd like them.
Mm-hmm.
Mystery Men is the standard of quality. The bowling comics, yes. He can draw feet, just lazy. Yeah, he just doesn't want to. I mean, I don't blame him. It's a lot of work to draw all those feet for no particular reason. It's easier to put the horizon line there, a curved horizon line that doesn't quite make sense. But, you know.
You know that all of those barbarian comics, those barbarians have modern boots because John Buscema and Gil Kane did not want to draw toes.
Nope. Because it's a pain.
Yes.
And nobody cares. Nobody cares if all your toes look good. Gore Vidal says, the DC Compact editions have been selling well at my LCS. I reread Compact Watchmen and enjoyed it. It reads like a novel anyway. Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't gotten any of those because they're not for me, but, you know. I'm glad someone's liking them. I want them bigger, not smaller, but that's just me. If I want something... If I'm going to read something portably, I'm going to read it digitally. That's so I don't need to carry. I know that's why people like them. Here's one I've wanted to check out but haven't. Chip Zdarsky's Public Domain, which I think is a story about creating comics. Yeah. Dallas Comics is up and running, but can team make a domain comic for a new generation before Jerry Jaspel and Singular Comics beat them to it? So I think it's about the comics industry, like in the 40s and 50s, Public Domain. But somehow I never quite picked it up, but I'm gonna have to. So I think it's supposed to be good. Sin's War, what's the furthest place from here? And that's about it for this month's. See, what do we have on the last bit? Yep. I don't know what this is. Pick up next month's catalog to check out Assorted Crisis Events. I don't know if that's a new comic mocking Crisis Events or just a joke for the last page. Who knows? Who knows? Eric P. says, I read the first trade of Public Domain and liked it. Yeah. I've seen a few people have liked it on YouTube, and it sounds like one I should like. But I just haven't gotten to it yet. Did you have a read, rip, and slab? No, we didn't. Do you want to do one?
Sure.
Sure, yeah.
What decade? Let's see. We did the 80s last week, I think.
Well, since we were talking about feet, let's do the 90s.
All right, let's do the 90s. Oh, I've got 1996 October up first, so let's just do that one. Let's see here.
Heroes Reborn month.
I don't think I see any feet. Let's see. Share screen. Share screen. Winder. There we go. We have got Cyberforce 28, Icon versus Blood Syndicate, Icon number 40, and X-Force 61. Kevin Lau, Christopher Williams, and David Finch, Joe Weems, guest starring Gabriel in Cyberforce. The secret revealed in X-Force. What is the secret that's revealed?
It's whether Shatterstar was actually human.
Oh, well, woo-hoo. He knows. Holy cow. I wasn't expecting that.
I had bought the previous issue on the newsstand. And then
Tit Goblin makes instant decisions. Read icon, rip X, slab cyber. Instant. Oh, so is Gorvidal. Read Cyberforce, rip Cyberforce, read icon, slab X Force.
I know I have that X Force issue.
I got no interest in reading icon.
I don't think I would. Icon 40. No, I wasn't reading. I probably got the book because it's a DC book, so I would have got it with the bundle.
I wonder if I read Cyberforce 28. Let me check my database and see if I bought it or not. I don't remember any of them.
Yeah, I'm going to read Cyberforce.
Wow, I've got Cyberforce 1 through 35.
Oh wow!
So I have read. I couldn't have told you that.
Yeah, I'm going to read Cyberforce. I'm going to rip icon. That cover's terrible. And I'm going to slab X-Force. Just because it has a bunch of characters on the cover and I can see all of them. I have no idea who's on that Cyberforce cover, but I'm still going to read it.
Do either of you remember Kevin Lau or Christopher Williams?
I
don't remember those names at all.
I remember Kevin Lau. I
recognize the art for Kevin Lau, and I recognize the name for Christopher Williams, but nothing that, my mind. I would slab X-Force because that looks like it's one of those that you could almost say you could sell it as a prequel to Peach Momoka and say, this is on the road to that kind of art style. Prototype. There you go.
Prototype.
That's the prototype kind of issue. I would want to rip Cyberforce only because you could go straight down.
Yeah, right along that line.
Right along that line. And that would mean I would read Icon.
Here's the thing. Icon is probably a good read, and you can tell you. So this is written by McDuffie and drawn by Mark Bright and inked by Romeo Tingle. So you have a bunch of quality people inside the comic. And for some reason, they paid some schmo to do the cover. You have Mark Bright and Romeo Tingle inside, and you pay some schmo to do the cover.
Christopher Williams is Crisscross.
Oh, he's Crisscross? Okay. I remember that name at least, yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's basically he had a couple of different names.
Yeah.
So that's who that did that cover.
Tit Goblin, I live in instant life in our instant world, man. That's why he had his. Eric P wants to add feet to Icon. Gore Vidal, besides X-Force, never heard of Cyberforce and Icon? Where were you in the 90s?
Okay. Cyberforce was Mark Silvestri's wannabe X-Men comic from the Image launch.
Yeah.
Icon was the main title in Milestone.
Cyberforce was one of those books I bought and read and immediately forgot about. Because like I said, I got issues 1 through 35 back there somewhere. Don't remember it at all. Icon I never really read. I wasn't into any of those DC Milestone books.
The only Milestones I've read were the...
I wasn't reading many comics in the 90s, says Girl.
Were the Worlds Collide crossover.
I enjoyed the Milestone books. They were pretty good reads.
Yeah, a lot of people did. I just, it was mainstream superhero stuff to me, so.
Yeah.
Just didn't really catch my attention. I wasn't reading anything from Marvel or DC.
Okay, so what are we
Eric P says, read Icon, slab X-Force, rip Cyberforce. DC did not have a book with Force in the title. And nope, they did not. We could not get an all-Force.
They did. What was the Baron Winters team?
Night Force?
Night Force, because there was a new Night Force in the 90s.
Ah. Tit Goblin. I've always had a fondness for the Milestone DC imprint. The art was cool, and it still stinks it holds up. Yeah, there was a lot of people. Atari Force. There we go.
But that was from the 80s.
Yeah. I think a lot of people did like the Milestone stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know why it kind of fizzled out, but it did. Night Force. Yeah, I bought the 80s Night Force. I didn't think there was another Night Force until what was that DC relaunch in 2012? The New 52, I think, had a Night Force. I don't remember one in the 90s, but that doesn't mean there wasn't one.
I would so the X-Force cover, I would replace the girl with the dolphin. Because it's just classic to replace the girl with the dolphin. Siren, I replace Siren with the dolphin. And I think the flamingos would need to go on the icon cover because it needs more characters on there. Mm-hmm. So you really have to like get as many on there as possible.
I think the flamingos have to be standing in front of the fire there in the background.
Yeah, that would probably be the best place to put them.
I'm going to Dolphin Cable's gun. I mean, the dolphin, it's very weird to see Cable holding such a tiny gun. So we need the dolphin so it can be carrying something bigger. And the flamingos are going to be on Heatwave's hands on Cyberforce. They're going to complain that it's hot.
It's hot. I think I'm going to slab Cyberforce because I already have the issue raw. I can show them off together and go, look, ooh, big nice pair. Which means, oh boy, which one do I have to? I'm gonna. Paulo has talked me into reading Icon, so I'm gonna rip X-Force and read Icon. And on the Icon, whoever is that on the Icon cover with the claw? He's going to be a dolphin with a claw now. And I'm going to put the flamingos with no feet at the bottom of the X-Force cover on either side of Shatterstar. So they'll have no feet too, just like Shatterstar. Oh, Howler Mouse has got us with a little knowledge here. There's a documentary out there about the rise and fall of Milestone, maybe on Max. It's well done. We'll have to check that out.
Yeah, there was some wild stuff going on with Milestone. It's definitely one to check out.
If I heard any stories about it, I've forgotten them. The Penthouse stories have overshadowed them all. Eric P. says, I would dolphin the Burning Man on the cover of Icon. And the flamingos would go on top of the Top Cow logo. I'll have to look at the Milestone documentary. Interesting.
Yeah, what makes them
I showed all my comics. I got no other comics this.
If there was one group of characters in the Milestone universe who were boring, it was Blood Syndicate.
Yeah. Did they have their own? Was there a Blood Syndicate comic?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, vaguely remember it.
Because I remember them in Worlds Collide, and they were trying to be a gangster rap version of Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids.
What year was Shatterstar created?
19.
He was a Liefeld creation, right?
Yeah, he shows up in he has a cameo in New Mutants number 100 in the last page.
Okay.
And then the X-Force find him fighting robots in their gym, in X-Force number 1, and they're wondering where does this guy come from?
So it took us 6 years to find out if he was human or not.
Yeah, because they never told us his origin, and there was kind of a rumor that he was Longshot and Dazzler's son from the future, because he also comes from Mojo World. But he seemed to come from the future because he was referencing Mojo 5, and there was already a Mojo 2, the sequel, but no other Mojos. But of course, being a Liefeld plot, it got thrown out. So during that time, Jeff Loeb kind of made it seem that Shatterstar came from Boston, because he started remembering some weird stuff. He was recognized as being as a human kid called Benjamin something. and they explain it in that issue, which I haven't read yet.
He's still waiting for it in his pull list.
Yeah. No, I don't really care. I mean, if he has a, the thing about Shatterstar, it doesn't really matter if he has a human identity or not, because the point of Shatterstar is that he leaps into the fray without looking, and he just uses a sword on things to kill them.
And he's Shatterstar all the time. He doesn't need to be anyone else.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay.
That's the whole point.
Well, that was a fun read, rip, and slab. Visiting the 90s again.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do a video on those 35 issues of Cyberforce I had. I really don't remember any of them. I mean, not a one. I don't remember the basic plot or anything.
Well, the first 4-issue arc, it's quite clear that Mark Silvestri has no idea what he wants to do, so he does the X-Men.
Right. It's volume 2 that has the 35 issues. There's like a 4-issue mini, and then volume. And I think it even went beyond 35 issues. I must have just stopped at 35.
Yeah.
Because I think they're at some sort of mini series too. Let me see. Cyberforce, the Tin Men of War. Oh, that's a collection of the original mini. And Cyberforce Origins #3. I happen to have.
Yeah, because a couple of Velocity and Cyblade had mini series, I think. And Major Striker got spun off into his own comic with a different mercenary team.
Okay. Well, we should wrap it up for the night. Give you some graffiti, some confetti, some balloons, some lasers. All right, all sorts of fun stuff. So everybody have a good night out there. Anybody have any last words for us?
I would invite you to come. I'm going to be on a Portuguese comic book channel on Monday, but it's in Portuguese. So.
Okay. So if you speak Portuguese, go listen to Paulo on a Portuguese comic book channel. Well, he'll be speaking all weird.
You won't be able to understand it.
No.
Thing I'm saying, but I will be pronouncing all the artists' names correctly.
All right. Okay, then. We'll catch everybody next time.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah.